All right, welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of The War at Home, presented by FW22. Alongside me, as always, founder Tyler Egbert. And today we have a special guest that I'll let introduce herself. But a lot of great stuff in the works, and we're very blessed to be doing another episode with everybody. To our new guest, hello, thank you, and welcome for joining. And that means a lot to Tyler and I. We know you have a lot of really cool upcoming things happening, so I just want to leave the floor to you. And when you're like, that's good, we're going to start asking you some questions.
All right. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name is Tisha Strasser, and I am the CEO and founder of a nonprofit called Bring It, Push It, Own It. We focus on girls and women, making sure that they know their worth, their voice, and their strength. And I do this I've done this for over a decade, do this through joyful movement because it's important to move your body for your mental health, for your physical health. We do this through mindfulness, teaching you to sit with yourself and listen to yourself because a lot of times we get wrapped up in all the noise around us. We also do this through workshops, and we do this through obstacle courses. As a girl veteran myself, I think it's important to know that you can do shit you don't want to do. And then I also have another company called Brain Power Her, Unfiltered, and that is working with women of trauma and letting women also know that have had serious trauma. I'm an at-risk girl myself, have been through all that, knowing that they also need to know their worth, their strength, their voice, and that no matter what's happened, they can come out on the other side strong as hell and taking on life however they want to.
I'm so happy that she's over here cussing. This is a professional podcast.
You're good. It was refreshing for me.
It was very refreshing.
I'm like, wait, I know who's here.
Yeah. You're in good company.
I know my audience.
Yep.
So you said you're talking about before when we started, you had your own podcast. What do you do on your own podcast?
Yeah. So on Brain Power Her, we address a lot of women's issues, but mental health as well. And just learning to overcome. I think a big thing, especially for women, is learning to use your voice and knowing how to do that and knowing just how powerful you are. So we address a lot of different issues that come alongside a lot of female struggles. But honestly, I notice men struggling with a lot of the same things as well.
What age groups do you serve, or do you help out? So do you just do adult women? Do you do teenagers, middle school women? What age groups do you encompass?
Yeah, so through my nonprofit, we work with girls aged 9 to 18.
Okay.
And then with Brain Power Her, it's women.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
As far as I guess, so we're a veteran mental health, suicide prevention. You mentioned, and I might get the term right, but something that we hear a lot is military sexual trauma, right? That's often a thing that affects women, whether it's depression, suicide can also sometimes be caused by that as well. Is that something that you see a lot of in the veterans that you work with? Is it not as common? How prevalent would you say that issue was or is?
Phenomenal question, by the way.
Yeah. So I would say for women in general, unfortunately, sexual violation of any form for a lot of women, I think the stats are 86% start as a young girl. So even outside of military or being a veteran, those things start to happen to women at a young age. And I would say when I work with women of trauma, I would say 9 out of 10 women have experienced some form of sexual violation in some form.
You said 9 out of 10?
Yes.
Jeez.
Most women that I coach have had that kind of trauma. And I don't want to speak for all female veterans. So I would say for myself, being a young girl going into the military at 17, and let's be real, there's a lot of things you're allowed to do in the military as a young girl. So I do think things happen, unfortunately. Even for myself, I've experienced that. As a young soldier, I've had my experiences, but I think women in general experience that. It's still very prevalent, and so it is a big issue.
Do you mind talking about your service a little bit? What was
Sure.
your MOS? Obviously, you were in the Army.
Yeah.
Where were you stationed? All that kind of stuff.
I love how you said, obviously, I was in the Army. Where'd that come
you said
from?
a soldier.
From my Marine, my Marine friend over here,
wasn't
who's
Marine
not
Corps.
very nice to the other divisions.
You said soldier, so
Actually,
I
Noah
picked
and I
up
were
on
just
it.
talking about that too, so.
Yes. So I was in the Army National Guard.
Okay.
and I was in supply. I was a young girl. I moved out at 16, so I actually joined at 17 because I was like, hey, I need to make some money. I need to go to school. I had no idea why you should pick a job that makes way more sense for your, later life. All those things. I think we've all experienced that. We're like, sure, sounds fun. So I just took whatever job they threw at me. I served in Elkhart, Indiana.
Okay.
I also moved to Arkansas for a while and did serve active for a short while there. And I would say, I always tell people, I think the military is like everything. You need to take the good and leave the rest. And I think that a lot of people don't know how to do that. So they're really focused on, it's like anything. It's like politics, religion. I think that my experience in the military really gave me a lot of really good traits. I mean, to me, and I'm not saying every soldier or Marine or sailor, whatever's like this, but my integrity is solid in the fact of who I am. And my pride in my country and wanting to protect the people that I love or even people I don't love. I mean, I think that there's a lot of things that came from the time that I served. I mean, I could say there was also a lot of bad things that came from the time I served, right? But I think walking away with the good and making that a part of who you are and how you serve others is really important. And I definitely think for women, you still go in and you think you have to put this face on, right? You got to be tough and you got to be able to keep up with everybody. And then when you aren't doing that anymore, I mean, really, you just come off as a bitch because it's different. In civilian life, when you come off hard and, just like you have that kind of that face, it comes off differently. But when you're in the military, if you're not like that, I mean, you're going to get ran over. That's just the truth.
I 100% I understand what you're saying because, again, if you come off as soft or gentle or compassionate, in the service, then you'll be viewed as though or as such. But I mean, you have to learn to kind of get a thicker skin, right, to be successful when you're serving as a woman. And I can understand how society doesn't always perceive women in that light. So if you do have that skin or you do have that directness and you don't meet the stereotype of what people think a woman should be or how they act, you could be judged. So I mean, I'm not a woman, but I have female
Good
friends
to know.
that
Thanks for
serve,
sharing.
and it's similar. That's why I think that's a big part of why veterans kind of end up flocking together is because we all kind of get each other and the complexities of our previous life experience and we can relate. So,
yeah.
One of the things, so I think I binged your podcast in like 2 days just because I want to, whenever I come in contact with a new person, I want to know everything that I possibly can. And knowing that you're going to be a future guest, I wanted to do my homework. But, obviously you didn't, and you can talk about whatever you want, but you didn't have an easy upbringing through all the obstacles you had through family and life and decision making. Then you joined the military, which is supposed to be like a way for you to escape. Then you find yourself into situations that you might not have wanted to be in through the military. What did you do when you came home or was out of the service to help you with your battles, your mental health, your struggles?
I want to say I figured that out so quick, but that would be a lie. I would say it just took me some time, but honestly, I feel like, again, I took the good things and I held on to that and I made that a part of me, right? So I think being able to be proud of myself builds your confidence. And when you have a confidence, it's a lot easier to go after things or have a purpose or a passion or be able to wake up and love your life and not be unhappy. So I think what people struggle with, honestly, is they really get stuck in the shit and they don't necessarily want to get stuck in the sunshine. So then you get stuck focusing on that. And then it's hard to find purpose or find your people or enjoy life. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I had it really rough. Let's say I came home around 20-ish. I was still in, but I mean, I still had a lot to figure out for my strength and my voice until I was probably almost 30 when I realized I wasn't being exactly who I had portrayed myself as I was in the military, right? Strong, all those things. I needed to actually live that part of me, that side of me actually is a good thing. Just, you're right, it does have to come off a little softer on this side because then you're aggressive and assertive and blah, blah, blah. Other military people don't ever reference me that way, but other people will. So I think people really need to learn not to get stuck in the shit and really look for the good and then see yourself in the good that you were, maybe not all the bad, because there is bad, but what isn't?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always bad,
Yeah.
right?
It's easy to key in on the negative and, like, to your point, not take the good or develop the positive that you had from that experience and use that to nurture and then thrive, and then focus on that becoming who you are, not necessarily the negative stuff that you experienced. And that was, I'll be honest, that was some of the things that I did when I got out. So part of the reason why we started this is I had some friends that committed suicide when we were in, and obviously that's not great for a 20-something-year-old kid to lose friends that he served with. And then I keyed in, like, on the bad stuff, like bad things that my chain of command did, or bad things that we were doing to deal with stuff that we had going on. And it put me, I was an angry person for a while, and I had to get myself out of that. So I'm happy. You sound like a very optimistic person, where maybe...
Oh, let's be real. I was pissed off for a really long time.
Okay.
I was pissed off for a really long time. And I think the other part of that is learning to show up as the person that you really want to be. So you have to envision that. I think that I don't think it's just a girl thing. I think everybody is like, oh, when I get older, you have some kind of vision, whatever it is, whether it's a job, it's money, friends, whatever it is, you have some kind of vision, but that gets lost, right? When you get stuck in the crap, you kind of put that to the side and you forget about it. I think for me, the reason that I've become who I am is because at 12 years old, I promised myself that I would become this person, that I'm going to become a voice for girls, because I was the girl that didn't have a voice. I've had every kind of sexual trauma there is, every kind of physical abuse. I've been neglected. Both my parents are addicts. So it'd be really easy to stay in the shit because it surrounds me. Yeah, I made a promise to myself at a young age. I think we forget that. I think everybody does that. It's not just a girl thing. Everybody makes some kind of promise to themselves, but then they let it go. They're like, oh, it's not going to happen, or because things have turned out so shitty, it doesn't matter anymore. But I think if you reflect on who you really want to be, who you wanted to become when you were younger, because, like, that's the most genuine part of you. Nobody skewed that yet, right? Well, for most people at a certain age, you might have to go back further, maybe 8 or 9. But when you're still, like, innocent and things are still really good and you don't see the world as shitty, or you're not pissed off, or all those things, that's, like, the part of you that you need to go back to and, like, harness that part of you, because it's so good, right? It's like the sunshine, the optimism, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why obviously I'm inspired by your story is I feel like Tyler and I, as an organization, what we've created is, this is biased, but I feel like we're a really good resource and tool for people still in or on the verge of getting out. I think the biggest mistake that veterans make is they think they have it figured out and that they don't need help and they're going to be able to do whatever they want, but then life hits them hard and then they don't ask for help, they don't speak up, or they're struggling and or it's just not cool to go to the VA, or whatever the reason is. The one thing that we kind of lack on, though, is we don't really have an outlet for if a female had just gotten out. I mean, we're a pretty male-dominant group. We do have female board members. I could talk to any veteran, male or female, and just treat them as a veteran. But if they were to talk about, their trauma while they're in, I can't relate to that. So I wanted to build our alliances in our community with people or organizations I feel like we could send them to. So I guess if we were ever to have a female that did come to us and was just struggling and didn't want to go to the VA and wanted ways for them to release their trauma or their stress or whatever is haunting them, we could send them to you, obviously, but what are things that you do or could do to help those female Joes, those veterans?
Yeah, so I do a lot of coaching with women, and I think I like that you said, so there's a lot of healing that needs to happen, but you don't start there because nobody wants to start there. I mean, that's just a given. I think that a lot of people think, so counseling works this way, right? And I believe in counseling, I do, but most people aren't ready for counseling. A lot of the work that I do is warming you up for counseling if you still need it, because I think what happens is we think we need to start with the healing, right? And I definitely am somebody that had to work on a lot of healing. I did that on my own. I did not do counseling, but I believe in it. So you have to start with building somebody. You have to build their confidence for you to want to heal. Because why would you want to heal if you're unhappy or you don't believe in yourself or you're struggling or life isn't what you envisioned it, right? Or things suck. Like, why would you want to heal? You're not going to want to heal. So the biggest thing I like to work on is like really just beefing people up and reminding you of who you are and all the awesome things that you've done, because we forget that. And we don't really celebrate ourselves. We celebrate everybody else. So I really like to hone in, like really get to know you, really understand like what your story is, what you've done that's really great. Everybody's done really great stuff. I can find something really great because I like people. We had this talk when we started. 1 out of the 3 of us really likes people. So I think getting to know them so that I can teach them the beauty in themselves again so that they can see that. Once they see that and they start to celebrate themselves and they're like, damn, I'm a badass, right? Because you need that reminder. Then we have to have that talk like, hey, we don't need to circle all the things that have happened to you. I'm not a big one for circling all the crap that happened to me as a kid or as a grown woman, but I have had to talk about it at least once or twice. And I've had to accept it and understand that that's no longer my present. And how do I move forward? That's the biggest struggle. People are stuck, right? So deciphering what's happened and then how do we move you forward? So in coaching, we have to talk about what's your mindset? How do you really see things? And like, how do you accept things? Is your story even true or is it a lie? Because most of the time we lie to ourselves, right? And then taking action is a big thing. It sounds simple, but that is people's biggest struggle. I just need you to take an action step, just one baby action step. So getting them to do little things that, believe it or not, they will fight you on tooth and nail, because that one action step gets you closer to where you want to be. So it's hard to do that. And then ideation sounds crazy, but it's actually getting you excited about stuff again. Like, what excites you? Why are we even here if you're not excited? When you think about depression, we're not really like, people forget what excites me, what do I want to go do that puts a smile on my face. So it's important that we talk about those things. And then in the end, self-assurance. You cannot wait for other people to show up to tell you who you are or to validate you. That is the biggest struggle people have, is they need their family or their friends or their loved ones to validate them. But what happens when those people aren't around? The voices start, all the other things set in. So teaching you how to validate yourself. You have to know who you are. Let's like dive into that. Stop looking for compliments or people to tell you that it's good, all of that. Not that we don't need that. We do as human beings. We have to feel like we're connected and belong, but teaching you to have that when people aren't around. So the process works very well. I've worked with a lot of women. I did it with myself. It's my process and it works well.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I am super fascinated because there's actually... I keep everything anonymous, but we had a veteran recently that he was to that point. Like it was very abundantly clear that this individual was having issues, but he was to a point where he didn't want help. He didn't need help. So is there anyone, I know you focus on women, is there anyone that provides these same type of services to help get male veterans to the point where they're okay with seeking help from a mental health professional, or is that something that you might be open to doing?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I honestly don't specifically know people that do it. And I tell people, obviously I love to work with women because I am a woman. And like you said, let's be honest, if she's had sexual assault, essentially she needs to be talking to a female to start with, whether you're a safe male ally or not, right? But I have coached boys and men, to be honest. But when it comes to women...
It's a great band too, by the way. Sorry. I love that band.
But yeah, and I think that's really common though. I don't think that's uncommon. I run into a lot of people that or they've tried therapy and they hate it. Well, it's because you haven't gotten them to the context of, okay, are you going to therapy because you actually do want to talk about what happened to you? Some people need to do that. Are you going to therapy because you want to talk about what happened and then you want to get the tools and you want to move forward? For me, let's get it out. Let's have a conversation. Let's accept that people did shitty stuff to you and there's shitty people out there. But how do we want to move forward? Because that's not your life. That's your past.
The other thing is, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about out of all the veterans we've helped. But like if we go back, when Tyler and I first came home, I think he came home in like August. I came home in, I think, October of 14. My family and I are very close. We used to be. When I left for the Marines, I was a different person, but it's always been my sisters and my mom, very close. And when I first came home, I think I got a job at a strip club the same night I got home. I fought somebody and they're like, yo, we want this guy on our team. So I was like, hell yeah, free beer and I get to fight. But my family had no idea that anything was bothering me, right? all they were used to is, oh, this is our hero. Look, oh, he's an Afghan, blah, blah, blah. Tyler, there's been times where we are distant, or it doesn't matter I think I've known you since, what, second grade?
Yeah, since St.
Long
Peter's,
time.
yeah.
I mean, he's the asshole that
Guys are
got me
old.
into the Marine Corps in the beginning. But I mean, there's times where we don't see each other for years. We don't talk for months, whether we're living life, but we always know each other. Like we know when something's not. And it was just ironic that he was losing friends, I was losing friends, and then we took action. It was like, let's do something. But even then, I use that to push away my own problems and just focus on others. Don't even start. I will.
It was absolutely a coping mechanism
Exactly.
for a while.
And when I did go to therapy, it was the biggest financial scam of my life, because for a year and a half, at $100 a week, I didn't take it serious. I just did it to be like, okay, because if we ever offer a service, I want to go through it first, just to see what it's like. So I did this damn counseling, but it wasn't until like the last 6 months when I did the red light therapy, and I actually wanted it. It didn't matter how much she told me. I didn't give a shit. It was just, here's $100. I'll see you next week. Waste of her time, waste of mine. But it's hard for vets because I can't just kick them in the chest and say, do this. Again, this is my opinion, but you can't help somebody with mental health if they don't want the help, no matter what you do. Just like I tell their families, like, they're always like, oh, I wish there's something I could have done. And it's at the end of the day, if they don't want it, it doesn't matter what you do. But, when he's talking, is there a group or something where you can get them to want it? It's hard. But I will say, if you actually just do it and take it serious and put away your cockiness and your shield, your arm, whatever you call it, it does. I mean, it's helped me cope with things that I've done and seen that ate me alive and made me into a monster. And so it'd be great if there was a way that at least us could figure out how to break. Because honestly, if I could legally just kick you in your chest and tie you up and be like, you're going to do this and this is why, that'd be great. But you can't do that because this is America and people have rights and freedoms, which is insane. But I think what you're doing for women is huge. There's just so many layers in the veteran aspect where, like, I understand what it's like to be a veteran in our age group. The VA is lame. Serving your country is lame. Saluting is lame. Thank you for your service is lame. It's all lame. I get it. But you're getting drunk every night and you're beating your wife, or you're cheating, or you're on drugs, and then you wonder why you're playing with guns. And it's just like, it's okay to not be okay, and it is okay to ask for help. And I think a lot of that starts in the military, where they prepare you to be like a certain type, but they also need to let you know it's okay to struggle because you're a human.
I think everybody honestly wants help.
Yeah.
Even though they say they don't, they do. Because everybody you need to feel good. When you feel like shit, whether you realize it or not, everybody wants help. I definitely think what I see the struggle is when people try to help people is they don't understand and meet them where they're at. So if I'm going to work with somebody who's your guy that's like that, I have to understand where he's at. What does he need right now? He doesn't need me to tell him what he needs right now. That's not what he needs, right? So you have to be willing to get to know somebody on a deep layer that makes them feel like they belong and they matter. I don't believe for 1 minute that nobody doesn't want that. I don't. You're a human. That's how you're built. So as long as I allow you to know that you belong and you matter, even if this is the stage you stay in, you don't need anything from me further, that's how you get further, right? So when it gets so bad and people take their lives, they honestly want the help. They just don't know how to ask for it. That's the biggest problem. My youngest daughter, her best friend committed suicide. I mean, it's rough, but there's never a stage where somebody doesn't want the help. It's that they don't know how to ask for it. That is the biggest problem. So some of us have to be really good at getting to know people or reading you if you can't tell me what you need. And that's not to say that there's not still going to be people that I can't help. But I do think loving people and like caring about them, I think that changes the game. If you feel like you matter to me, you're probably going to tell me some stuff. If I feel like I matter to you, I'm going to tell you. I think that's the difference. I do. It doesn't have to be all gushy and shit. You have to know who you're dealing with. Some of my people need me to be gushy and lovey and some don't. So it just depends on who it is.
So this Saturday, there's two important things coming up. One I'm going to, the other one I can't because of the other event. So this Saturday there's a diaper party, but also there's a very, very, very important thing coming
Expand
up.
on that. Like what?
Well, I'm going to a diaper party for someone really close to me.
Oh.
But if I remember correctly, at the same time this Saturday, there's something really cool happening. Do you care to elaborate?
Yeah. I mean, it's sold out at 304.
Congratulations.
Yes, but we celebrate International Women's Day. So it's just a day that we take to celebrate women, how far we've come. Let's be real. I mean, we've had to make a lot of advancements, and it's still a struggle. Women still are not matched up in leadership. We're still behind in a lot of areas. So it's a day that we take to really honor the girls that we work with, but to honor women as well, and teach women that it's okay to celebrate yourself. It's okay to boast about yourself. It's okay to do all those things. So we have a huge breakfast, and we do a big celebration and raise money to survive in our nonprofit land. And we are like maxed out, sold out.
I say, you said you're sold out. Where are you guys doing this at?
Cerrutis.
Okay.
So this will be our 6th year for the breakfast.
The one north or like by Harley?
Lima.
Okay.
Lima, over here,
Yeah,
where we're at.
right. Okay.
Basically, yeah. Yeah.
You have like a keynote speaker or anything like that?
So typically I like local. I usually pick somebody local because I want people to feel like we're a community. And this year, a girl on my team that's a girl, I mean, she's 30, but she's been with me a couple of years. She asked if she could speak and talk about what I've done for her and what our nonprofit's actually, how it's helped her grow. Just being on my team, she's been mentored for the last 3 years. So she wants to share like what it's done for her. And then actually a 16-year-old girl I've had since she was 10 is speaking. So not the big wigs, but people get excited to come. We make things very
pretty
interactive.
good lineup though that I see that's going or sponsoring or going to have a table. So you have some pretty sweet people there. It's impressive.
Yeah, we do have some cool people there.
So maybe one day, if I butcher the name, I'm sorry, you can correct me, but maybe one day Tyler and I can be male allies. Is that what it's called?
You were supposed to be a male ally.
I understand that, but
supposed to be
remember, something really important to me is happening. Got to buy a lot of diapers, a couple $100 worth, so it's insane.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Do you know Jared's girl dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's how
I do.
that's how I came to figure out who this is. I had to do one of those annoying cheer events, and then mom's like, "Oh, I can't take her," and so I'm like, "Okay, don't worry, I'll take her." And then I'm like, "What is?" So I asked my kid, like, "What the hell did you do?" And she's like, "She's just."
What did you do? Because she has to do something wrong.
Well, what did you guys do at the event? Like, what was it about? It was like nighttime. It's dark. I'm over by Jazz's house, and so then I was like, "This is fascinating. This is. She did this for you. Like, what about?" So then in my head, I'm like, "What about female vets?"
So that was our athlete session. So we'll work. So I do get to work with boys when we do. So we do athlete sessions because there's a huge divide in identity in our athletes because most of them don't get scouted, and so it's really scary because they don't know that they're awesome outside of their sport. So we work with boys and girls. They come in, we do some movement, we do a piece, and we make them talk about themselves. No sports, no school, which is very difficult for them.
Yeah.
I worked with DeMarcus Beasley's team. They're our semi-pro soccer team. I worked with those young men. And then we work with gymnastics teams, cheer teams. But it's really effective. We talk about, I do an activity where I'm able to get everybody to say like what an insecurity, a struggle. With the guys, I say, what's a fear or a struggle? I say insecurity with girls. And so they write it down, but their name's not on it. So that way I can get everybody to be honest. And then I take the papers. And then I'm like, if you've ever struggled with this, stand up. So the goal is without them having to speak, especially my guys, and get super uncomfortable, they're able to look around and be like, and then I ask them like, hey, these are your teammates. Did you know that? Because like there's some serious struggles. And they're like, no. And I'm like, all right, so how do we help each other without, I get it, having to have the mushy conversation every time, but making sure you're checking in.
Yeah. I read, and you probably know more about this than I do, but I read an interesting statistic. So it was like something incredibly high, like 7 or 8 out of 10 female executives are former collegiate athletes. Do you know, is there more data to support that? Am I kind of on base or am I completely wrong?
I don't know the data, but I just did a podcast with a young woman who used to be a D1 athlete. And I'm not an athlete, but I have an athlete mind. So I get that, and that would make sense to me because, I mean, they'll kill themselves. They will. And she straight up said that. I mean, she ended up hurting herself and not being able to play anymore. But then her story had to be rewritten because basketball was everything, right? And
Oh,
she's
that was her identity, like
Yeah.
you were saying. That's what
she was like,
knew.
oh shit,
Yeah.
who am I? But I could see that because they will kill themselves. They will put up with anything to get to the frickin' prize, right? And that's okay. It's not a bad mindset, but when it ends, it can be a struggle for people.
Yeah.
So one of the things since I came back into FW22, like so far I'm really proud of the board because they're probably so overwhelmed because I'm just growing us. And
You coming for them?
oh yeah, well it's just we have a new board in place and I need them to be patient and understand because a lot of them never seen me as far as like on a board, so they don't understand that I'm a psycho. I'm go, go, go. I'm passionate. My passion is what makes me a psycho. I believe in our mission that Tyler and I created more than probably anything else in life I believe in. Like it means the world. But I'm also very big on our own board's mental health. It's one thing to get the training to help those struggling with suicide, but it's another to recognize when people within your own circle are struggling. Is it crazy to think or ask? I mean, is it possible that we ever get our nonprofit to come and do a training session with you guys? Just because, and I'll do it too because I'm not going to ask.
I was like, only if you do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask
only if you
my
do
awesome
it.
team to do something that, even though I don't want to, I would do it in a heartbeat if it meant that
there'd be movement involved.
Yes, I understand this. I just think it'd be important that my board, we're also one team, one fight.
You're a witness to him talking about this, as I know.
I heard it.
Yeah,
I would do it. No. Yeah, I'd do it. Not a problem. If my team's going to do it, like I'm all in with my team.
I do team sessions, and I enjoy them a lot.
Good.
You said you have an O course, right?
I have a what?
An obstacle course?
I did not know this.
I take the girls
okay.
to Ohio to do one.
I didn't know. I was like, where the heck's there an O course in Fort Wayne?
Dude, we should do
I would do
a team building O course activity.
I would love it.
There's a gym up in Auburn,
You
too.
sure?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the CCC Dome, they do the
they got like a Ninja Warrior gym.
That's where my kids' cheer practice was at.
Stop.
Growing up, that was where we played soccer. So I'm
really?
like, I was mad that they changed it to not soccer. I was like, what is this? I would do an O course, though.
It's important that people do staff sessions, though. I will say, I'm going to be bold. I feel like a lot of corporate organizations bring in these people and they come in and they chat about mental health.
Yeah.
I don't chat about mental health. I do activities that get you talking.
Movement.
That get you, not even just movement. I do things because I know people. And so I'm going to do things that I know are going to get you talking and you actually doing the thing, right? Because if we just talk at people all the time, that's not effective. And so it really does throw me when these corporations bring in people and I'm like, well, what did they do? Oh, they just talked. I'm like, I don't talk. I talk. But there's other things involved. And it goes really well. We actually have a focus on people that serve people because I feel like those are the people that are actually hiding. So when you think about case managers, social workers, people that work with people with disabilities, it's stressful. It's so stressful.
Yeah.
And those are the people that I hear in Starbucks.
Yep.
And they're struggling and they're taking care of everybody else.
Well, that's why I really want to do this because, like, my own board. So obviously the cases that we deal with are disgusting. They just break my heart. Every time I read it, I'm like choked up. But then they also have their own jobs, their own personal lives, their own family struggles. And so I don't want my board to ever get to a spot where they're just so overwhelmed that FW22 is a burden to them, right? It's dead weight. I don't want that. I want them to understand. Like I'm moving crazy mountains right now and I'm perfectly at peace. I'm like, everything's good. Like I'm not stressed about it. I don't care.
Nate had a word for it. Something fatigue.
Yeah, it's passion fatigue.
Passion fatigue.
So, and that happened to me.
They have to be reminded of your purpose and your passion, and not everybody's good at that.
Yeah.
Nope, that happened to me, and I'm just like, that'll never happen again. So now, like my new board, they're gonna get overwhelmed because I'm like, I'm not raising money for $100, $200. I mean, I'm raising tens of thousands, and I'm setting them up for success. And to the average person, they keep like, what do I get? It's just like, just breathe. This is a nonprofit. You're volunteering your time. We're doing good in the world. We can't save everybody. This can't affect you mentally. If you're struggling mentally, let's fix it. So I'm really big. I would love it if our nonprofit did something with your organization, and I would also love it in return if your group came to our hike this September.
Is this the 13-mile hike?
13.6, lots of movement, lots
you don't
of
have
water.
To do it all.
That is not just
It is
movement. That is
slow
like, you got to
pace.
train for that.
No, listen, I knock on wood. We've only ever had one incident. It wasn't our fault. It was the MC's boyfriend doing edibles out of our control.
Oh, Lord.
Army, of course, so no surprise there.
Oh, don't you dare.
But
Dare.
The average
Shots
person
fired.
shows up and does
I feel
it.
that.
The average person does it just fine. I mean, it takes us like, what, 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah.
Then you got guys and women that sprint and they finish hours before. I'm not about that life. I'm here to
Would
just
not be me. I
relax.
love movement, but 13 miles, that's a whole process.
But
We take breaks.
the reason why
Hydration breaks.
we have bar stops.
Water.
We have
Yeah.
bar stops.
Hydration.
We have OPS doing stretches, and we have EMTs, escorts.
When is that? I need to
It's going to be
start
September
training.
7th.
Oh, I got plenty of time. Hey,
Plenty
I did a
of
sprint
time.
triathlon without training. I do not recommend that at all. So I'm sure I can do this.
Well, this is why I think you will find it beneficial, because you know someone that's died by suicide. He knows someone that's died by. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing breaks down barriers than when you're literally dying while hiking in Fort Wayne.
Don't tell people
And you know that your mission.
They're like, I don't want to die. Why am I doing that?
well, you know that you're
I mean,
here.
they're feeling so empowered
They're
and
just
strong.
so tired. They're like, what is going on? So
Misery
and-
loves company.
Yeah.
yeah,
it's like, you're
and-
selling this.
Exactly. And you know that you're here
There's
for
a
a
reason
reason.
why we don't
you
have
know?
a good return
Yeah.
percentage.
Yeah. You're here because of veteran suicide. You're basically carrying, our old slogan was carrying their load because they're no longer here. But you're doing that with a whole bunch of people that are in the same situation. And right there, it should click that you're not alone, right? Yeah. And it should also click that, well, if everybody here knows someone that died by suicide, it's a problem. What are we doing? I mean, literally, my last time I spoke at the hike, it was when I let the crowd know I was stepping down. And this still eats me alive to this day. But in that same week, there was 2 Marines that killed themselves. And one of them had been to our hike like 2 times. So I took that personal. I generally do tear up when I give my speeches because I'm so passionate. But I was so angry because I just felt like sometimes when people come to the event, they want their selfies and they want to look what I did for our troops. But it's like they're dying every day. Like, truly ask them, are you okay? And then, this was hard for me, but if they do ask you okay, don't just say living the dream. Like, open up, right? It took me forever to do that. I did it. I feel like I'm better after spending all that dang money on that therapist, bless her heart for her patience. But I was so angry, honestly, that those 2 Marines had passed, because it's like our whole purpose for this hike was to spread awareness. And we have a Marine who has been to our event, still didn't have the opportunity, I guess, to reach out to it. Like, I took that personal. And so that made me, when I walked away, I went and I wanted to learn about mental health in general, not just veterans, because up until that point, I didn't care about any suicide other than veteran. After that point, I just cared about mental health. I didn't care who you look like, what you are. I don't give a shit. You're a human. I'm going to love you. What can I do to help you? And I joined a bunch of boards, taught them how to fundraise, wanted to learn how they interact with people. And then talked to Tyler a few months ago, and I'm back, ready to go. And we're going to take over Indiana. No question about it. But I just think you guys and girls as a group would have a lot of fun at our event. It's a good mental and physical sweat.
Well, what's the age group for this?
There's all ages.
Yeah, we got everyone
Since there's
from
drinking
I've seen
stations.
we got
I'm like,
everything from poolies like in high school all the way up to 50, 60-year-olds.
I see strollers, and then in their diaper bag is Jameson. We got
Oh my
water. It's whatever you want. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do. I'm just here to let you know that if you're not okay, that's okay.
Well,
It's just
I'm
that
for sure
simple.
on board. We'll see who else I can talk into 13 miles. I have some runners that
It's-
run that.
You don't have to do
they
the whole
It's so easy. And then let's
Well,
just
that would
say
be quitting. Come on now.
let's just say you get tired and you just want to break. There's vehicles that will just pick you up.
Yeah.
And you can either go back to
Ooh,
the
I don't know if my
event
brain
or
could
just
do
ride
that.
along.
We had
There's my athlete mind. I'm like, you start, you're going to finish.
So not to get into too much, but we had last year we had 2 young ladies that were struggling with some stuff, and they did it with their mother. She's a friend of mine, and it was tough for them. Like it was 13 miles, but she was coercing them the whole way, rooting for them, building that confidence, and they made it the whole
I
way,
guess we're
all
fired
13
up.
miles. Yeah, it was awesome. So it's not just veterans that go. It's not just men that go. We have all types of people that come out and
Do you have
this.
people like put together teams, or does it work like other
So
stuff? Or
this
no?
year, I'm actually taking the hike over myself. I'm stripping it down to how we did it our first year. It was strictly hike and booze. This year,
Because we just talked about teenage girls.
yeah, So this year,
Like, super
well, because
confused.
normally we have like a giant band, we have concerts and food and shopping. I don't want all that. We're here for suicide. We're here for mental health. I don't need all that stuff. I'm going to get all the money I need for sponsorships, so that way I don't have to worry about raising money in a silent auction and all that. If you guys have a team, that'd be phenomenal. It is 100% free this year to hike, to go to the event. We're not charging a thing. Now, there'll be an option to buy swag if you want a sweatshirt or something. But I'm not, no one, civilian or not civilian, you're not paying. You're coming, you're in a hike for mental health. And I want it to be a good experience that you can just be vulnerable. And there's a mission in front of you that you got to, cross that finish line, and you're going to finish, and we're going to cheer you on. And then it's going to be beautiful.
It's exciting. Well, I'm on board. We'll see what else I can.
There you go.
I'll have to ask my runner friends, because 13 miles to them is nothing.
If they want a real challenge. So the thing is, it's 22K with 22 kilos in a pack. So if they're looking for a challenge, they can do it with a rucksack.
Yeah.
Which it's
like, I feel like I'm back in boot camp. I feel very traumatized.
It's terrible.
Like,
it's absolutely
the longer
miserable.
we do it, every year it gets harder and harder. And I'm like, I don't practice at all. Like we were.
You guys wear the ruck? You both wear it?
Yeah, we used to practice
You wear the
too.
ruck.
Yeah, we used to practice.
She said, "You wear the ruck."
I gotta see this.
We used to practice. It's crazy. The very first time we did our hike, we hiked all the way down Coliseum. It's like 10 o'clock at night. We stopped.
Don't say everything. No, just leave it.
It was just nuts. Now we don't even.
We definitely used to train, and we would stop and get beverages at places while we were training.
It was
we
great.
could just leave it at that.
Yeah, but now
I feel like that kind of hydration would slow you down, not help you.
It helps you mentally keep pushing.
I can honestly say doing it completely sober is absolutely terrible. It is so miserable.
I guess I'm out.
Yeah. I've never
it's like
done
I don't want to drink and walk that far.
I've never been completely sober, but I've never been like Marty, where he, before they even started, was already had fallen face down.
I had some buddies from my unit come out.
Miss that guy.
It's like 3 or 4 of them. Well, we tied one on a little bit the night before, and he was still pretty trashed when we started. So he crashed in our escort vehicle, and
could you smell it coming off of him?
Oh yeah,
especially when it's warm outside. And you're like,
well, it was cold.
Yeah,
that year was cold. It was mid-October.
September. Oh,
that year it was rainy. It was like 40-some degrees out. He is terrible at math, and it was not 22 kilometers. It was more like 22 miles.
We might have gone.
Don't you mess that up?
Yeah,
that's something you can't mess up.
We're on year 10 now, right?
Yeah, this is our 10th year.
I've had a lot of practice to get it dialed in right.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
10 years, if you think about it.
Yeah,
that's a long time too, in my opinion, for a nonprofit, because I'll be honest, running a nonprofit it's not all rainbows and sunshine. There's a lot of diversity, as well. And it's hard.
It's very hard.
But
in my arena, it's very hard because people don't see the fire. They don't see it. They don't see something they can fix. If I showed you a girl all beat up or strung out on drugs later in life, then I could explain where it started. But they don't see the fire.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult. I feel like you guys at least, you paint the picture, that's for sure. I watched your video. You paint the picture.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's hard for me to do that. So yeah, I'm over a decade too.
Well, congratulations.
Man, I gotta start training for this thing. I'm a little worried.
I have a Peloton now, so I'm good. I think it's hard.
I'm like, if you do it without training, I should be
You're
fine.
Gonna be that dude
I work out all the time.
Muscle memory. I'm not gonna. I could be.
But you're also drinking, so you're not really feeling it.
I could be 300 pounds. I'm gonna win. It's just that I have that mentality. It's
a
good,
mentality.
it's a bad, but and honestly, I can't not finish because I know why Tyler and I do this, and it's not about how I feel. I'm supposed to feel that pain.
You feel okay the next day?
You know what I can't feel? You know what,
I'm just asking because if you guys don't work out, I'm just curious how your body's feeling next day.
My toes
you can't walk
missing.
for like 3 days afterwards.
Yeah, I have no toenails.
So you thought about maybe training a
blisters?
little bit?
No, I actually, this sounds...
serious about the Peloton. I don't believe him.
I do.
I don't know about that.
You bought a Peloton.
I did.
You told me you weren't going to... You're like, I'm not exercising.
I got a Peloton. Well, because I had some health scares, and I wanted to make sure I'm here for the long run for FW22.
Blood pressure
medication. Can't imagine.
So anyways, but if you don't do the hike and suffer, then that's wrong. You're supposed to suffer because the people that aren't here anymore don't feel it. And that's the whole point of this hike is you're doing it because they
I think
can't.
There's levels of suffering. I don't think you have to
Well, I know the last time
hate your life and not be able to walk
There's
the next
levels.
week. Yeah.
the last time I did the hike, I physically, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally was miserable. I don't know why I wore a rucksack. I don't know why I didn't stretch before.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
And the
I
halfway
just wanna be
point,
clear.
I didn't. Once we did the halfway point, I didn't want to move after that.
You wore your plate carrier one year too.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah.
I am not the same guy trying to become a drill instructor. I got boobies, and it was just nuts. But I did it. That's all that matters.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Noah, were you laughing?
Yeah.
Outstanding.
He's dying over there.
Hey, that's all that matters. That's my guy. So
Thanks for that.
we got 10 minutes left before he starts texting me obscene stuff. What do you want to talk about? What is something that anybody that watches this can learn from you or your organizations, or if there's a woman out there struggling, what's your message to them? Like anything you
Can
want.
we do this? Well, number one, how do people find you? Like, do you have social media? Do you have your own website? Can you kind of go over how people reach out to you?
I have several because I have several businesses. So, I mean, by my name, you can Google me, you can Facebook me, you can pull up, my phone number, email, everything is out there for the public, which isn't always great. But under my name, you can find me also under Bring It, Push It, Own It. You can Google it, you can Facebook it, you can Instagram it, you can find me. All of my messages still come to me. I still take all my messages, all my emails, all my DMs. And then for Brain Power, same thing. You can Google me and you can find me and directly get a hold of me. I do have a website for both. So bringitpushitownit.com and then heropower.com for Brain Power. So I'm very easy to find. It's kind of scary. You can Google me and find out a lot about me. So, it's not really hidden, but yeah, you can get a hold of me that way. I would say my biggest message to people is, and this can sound, cheesy to you, but you're the strongest person that you will ever know. Because you know yourself better than anybody, and you know what you've been through, and you know what you want, and you know who you want to be. So you have to know that you are stronger than you will ever realize. But if you tap into yourself and understand that everything you need is right here, take the help. You need the help, take the help, but understand that in the end, you know yourself better than anybody. If you're just willing to listen in, then you can be the strongest person you'll ever know. We're always looking for a hero, and we're always looking for everybody to save us. And again, I can't say enough. That's not to say we don't need help. When I coach people, in the end, I want you to become your own hero. But along the way, every hero has sidekicks, right? And that's what we all are as a community, as people, we're sidekicks. But in the end, you have to know that you can show up for yourself and become exactly whoever it is you want to be. And that in the end, you have to be your own hero. You have to show up for yourself, because sometimes we can't show up for everybody. And we can't carry that either. I can't carry every girl I have to send home to an abusive situation. I can't carry every person that I know is hurting and broken and wants to commit. I can't carry that. So I have to teach you to show up for yourself and become your own damn hero and love yourself that fiercely. I think that that's always my message, and that's how I live my life.
Awesome.
That was pretty good. You got me fired up. I'm ready to go.
Thank you so much for coming and talking with us. I've really enjoyed having you.
Yep. I guess I've committed to this 13 miles now. I'm a little terrified.
There's no turning back now.
There's no turning back. It's documented.
Yes. Well, I'm excited. I knew you'd be an amazing guest because of what we do. It just is a perfect fit. So I'm excited to continue our partnership in the community. Yeah, it's just a blessing. And I'm going to let Tyler this week do our exit goodbye message.
Thank you guys for tuning in again. Thank you to our guest for joining us, and we will catch you on the next episode.